Hey guys, it's Marshall here with you, and in this video series we're going to go through the Legends Loot plugin version 1.8 and how to use it and how to install it and all that good stuff. So what I've got here on the screen is I've got the Loot plugin package. As usual, it'll include all the files that you can install by hand if you wish, or you could just run the setup and it'll put them all in the appropriate directories for you. I'm going to run it as administrator because I run my tool set as administrator. Password right. There we go. And again, it's just this typical installer where you hit next and install and all that good stuff. As usual, DLLs go in the plugins folder. ERF can go really wherever you like. It's just for importing the resources in the hack pack in your hack folder. I did include the 2DAs for the Loot plugin because it does have some custom 2DAs in it. And if you're advanced user and you want to modify, because you can really modify this plugin. You can modify the powers for dynamic items. You can modify, what levels there are and all that stuff. But you'll see all that as we um, go through the plugin. So I'm going to fire up my tool set here now that that's installed. So, and again, all the setup does is put these in the appropriate places for you, and it tosses the manual on the desktop. You want to read through this because we're not going to touch on every single feature of the Loop plugin, but we're going to touch on most of it. And we have a brand new empty module here. So the first thing we're going to do is going to import the resources. So we'll just go File and Import, and we'll go have them right here. Just import those and hit OK. And as you can see, all the scripts are here. Then we'll fire up the master configurator, and you'll activate. Actually, before I fire up the master configurator, I'm just going to save my module. I'm just going to go lootvid. Lootvid's a good name. Don't worry about the start location because we haven't created one yet. Now we're going to fire up the master configurator, activate the Loop plugin, and set up our database. So, as many of the plugins are designed for persistent worlds, they connect to MySQL databases through NWNX. I have a video series on how you can do that, but it's not for this. So, just put in your database server. I believe that's what I'm using for this one. And hit test. There we go. And finish. Next, we're going to create an area. So I do want to have an area ready. And we're just going to call it our loot area. Oops, area. Next, finish. And there's our area that we're going to be using for demonstration. And in the master configurator, we're going to update our module scripts and our area scripts. Again, if you have a lot of areas, that update area scripts may take a while, but you can do it by hand if you like. I'll actually just show you what it does. Bring over the area properties here. And if you scroll down, you look at the on-client enter script, it puts this script here. And if you have an on-exit script, it puts this one here. If you already have your own custom scripts here, it'll modify them. It'll make copies of them and then modify them, so you don't actually have to really do anything here. Just hitting that button will do all the work for you. And then if you add new areas, just update these two entries with the scripts that the plugin put in place on existing areas. So it's pretty straightforward. And that'll be that. Next, we'll go in and actually configure the Loot plugin itself. So we'll go File, Configuration. Loot levels, we'll talk about that one in a second. The No Module Treasure, what this means is Neverwinter Nights 2 default AI scripts have the ability to generate treasure. This turns that function off, so you're not getting double the treasure, or some from the Loot plugin, some from the built-in system. I don't know. I've never had an occasion where I needed to have both going at the same time, but it's there as an option. Loot on death, what this means is that loot is created on a creature at the time of death rather than at the time of spawning. If you uncheck this, what will happen is all loot on creatures will be generated on them at the time they spawn versus at the time they die. And if you do that, then they may have the opportunity to actually use any loot that they end up with. So loot on death is an option here for you. And again, table prefixes just for organizing your tables. All the loot related tables in your database will start with this. Now loot levels, it's an interesting topic, but it's not it's not used a whole lot. What this is, basically this number is a relationship between a player character's level and an item level. The loot plugin has its own item level system, and it ranges from level 0 to 8. And what this number here will mean is that for every 4 character levels, an item level will be level 1. So if a level 8 character comes along, they'll generate a level 2 item. If a level 12 character comes along, they'll generate a level 3 item, and so on and so forth. So this is just like kind of like a multiplier, or a divisor rather, to generate loot levels based on character level. So we'll get into that a little bit more when we create dynamic items, but for now you can just leave it at default, and then you can tune it later to suit your needs. So then hit finish, and that configuration is saved. So now we're ready to compile all of our scripts. So we'll do that, and hopefully we shouldn't get any compile errors. Nope, we're good there. And I just like to I get into the habit of saving a lot, so I'm just going to do a file save here. Okay, so we're ready to actually go ahead and use the loot plugin at this point. So I'm going to do the simplest thing that we possibly can, just to quickly demonstrate how to use the plugin and go from there, because you can do a lot of really interesting loot generation in it, but you have to start somewhere. So we're going to start easy. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring over my creature blueprints, and I'm just going to go and look for a kobold, and I'm going to create a copy of this kobold because you can't really modify the stock ones. So here's my kobold, my custom kobold. And with him selected, I'm going to fire up the, in the blueprints, I'm going to fire up the loot plugin. And then I'm going to select File, and I'm going to go Edit Creature Blueprint, because that's what we're editing. And you'll see this screen. Common settings, leave them as is for now. I'm going to go through a little section of how-to of what all these means, and they're fairly straightforward, but I'm going to go through it anyway a little later. So just leave them alone for now. And there are 3 kinds of loot items you can create. You can create a hard item, a dynamic item, or a database group. A hard item is basically just an actual item directly from your blueprints list. It's just something you can choose to spawn. You can spawn a certain quantity of them, a chance to spawn them, and optionally an alternate item, which we'll demonstrate a little later. Whether magical items or items that could need to be identified, whether they should be or not, and if an item is a unique item. So what we're going to do in this demonstration is we're just going to have our little kobold here drop between 3 and 7 gold pieces. So that's fairly straightforward. So all you got to do is go down here, find a gold piece, put in a quantity, 3 to 7, and that's pretty much it. All you have to do at this point is just hit add. You don't even need the chance. It'll just default to 100%. So you can see here now that this kobold is configured to drop a hard item, and it's a gold piece, and it's going to drop between 3 and 7 100% of the time. And that's it. That's all I have to do. I click finish, quit, and now I can place my kobold in world. And we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this here, load up the game, and walk over and hopefully win a fight against the kobold, and we should see between 3 and 7 gold dropped. Then we'll come back into tool set and start moving on to a little bit more advanced features. So we'll see you back here in a second. Okay, so we're in game, and one thing I forgot to mention is when you create your first loot creature, you're going to want to recompile all your scripts, because it does modify this guy's death script and spawn script, of course. It needs to do that if it's going to be generating loot. So what it does is it'll create a new script for that when you do that. So the very first time you do that, you're going to want to make sure you compile all your scripts. If you come into the game and you kill the monster and it just doesn't drop any loot, that may be the first thing to check, is to see if you've actually compiled all your scripts and then try it again. So with that said, I'm just going to go over here and try and defeat this kobold. I don't have any weapons or anything, but I should a couple of kicks to the chops should do the trick. Ooh, I missed. Wow, he's not getting any satisfaction here, is he? That's crazy. Next time I'll have to put in a big sword or something to use. So there he is, defeated, and we'll wait for his corpse to decay, and we should see some loot. There it is. So we'll go over here and pick that up, and between 3 and 7 gold pieces have dropped. So as you can see, that's exactly what we wanted, and it'll do that 100% of the time. So every time we kill a kobold using that blueprint, they're going to drop between 3 and 3 and 7 gold pieces. So we're going to go back into the tool set now, and now that you've got kind of a taste for the simplistic system, we'll get into some more interesting things. So we'll see you back there in a second.